Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. What can you do when you're being ignored? Have any of these things ever happened to you? Your boss, or your spouse or partner, takes forever to answer your email or text, if they answer at all. You're taken for granted by someone you've worked hard to please. You walk down the street and people look right past you. You race to meet someone on time and the person no-shows. You submit a job application and don't even get a rejection letter. As Elie Wiesel wrote, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. Indeed, being ignored can feel worse than even being rejected, making you feel like you don't matter at all. When you're often treated with indifference, you can tend to write yourself off as unworthy. If that's your default emotion, are you asking for too much? Should you work to improve something about yourself, such as your attitude when you make requests of others? Consider those issues, but more often, being ignored is a sign of the times. In our careening lives, courtesy can be a casualty. So if your email is ignored, maybe it isn't you. The following may be reassuring. Having felt that my usual donations to nonprofit groups didn't yield enough good, I wrote a blog post offering to give $100 to $500 to people who believed the money would help them make a difference. All I required was an email explaining what they'd do with the money. Guess how many responses I got? 1. Even when I'm giving away free money, I'm ignored. Perhaps it's balming to know that you're not alone. But let's turn to possible solutions for each of the above situations. Your boss or spouse takes forever, if ever, to answer your emails. Tactfully raising the issue may yield improvement without getting yourself viewed as high maintenance. For example, you might try something like, we all have our pet peeves, and I must admit that mine is that I get frustrated when I don't get a reasonably prompt response to an important email. I know you're under a lot of pressure, but I'd consider it a favor if, where possible, you get back to me, say, within 24 hours, if only to say, I'm swamped, but I'll get back to you in a week on this, or in a week on this. Another example is you're taken for granted by someone you've worked hard to please. Again, a tactful request for what you want may help. For example, as I think you know, I've been trying pretty hard to please you, but it seems I haven't done a good enough job. I'm feeling a little neglected. For example, I'm always really interested in how your day went, but you don't seem to pay much attention when I tell you about mine. Am I misunderstanding something? Or you walk down the street and people look right past you. You want to try experimenting with establishing eye contact and smiling at people? You want to experiment with clothes, with hair, with makeup that might attract more attention? Or even venture a nice comment such as, I love that pin you're wearing, or is this not the most beautiful weather? Stranger things have happened than small talk spawning a nice conversation and even a relationship. Or you race to meet someone on time and they no-show. Try not to jump to conclusions. Maybe something really unavoidable did happen, so start with something like, hey, are you okay? When you didn't show, I worried you might have been in a car accident or something. Assuming they just screwed up, they'll probably apologize at that point. If they don't, instead of wimping out with something like, oh, no big deal, you might try, it happens. That deliberate sigh gets the point across without making the person unnecessarily defensive, and if only unconsciously, makes them more likely to treat you, would more likely make them treat you badly in the future. Or you get no response to a job application. You're understandably annoyed at that. You put in all that effort and they don't even have the decency to reply? You might try a phone call, even just an email like, I was excited about this job because I feel I'm a good fit. And I think I do a great job for you, but I haven't heard anything. Am I still being considered? Perhaps most important, it might help to remind yourself that you can't control others, but do have some measure of control over yourself. So try to replace needing others' affirmation with your own self-appraisal. How wonderful if our sense of self-worth derived more from whether we feel we're a good person than how some self-absorbed egotists treat us. And finally, a word to the perpetrators. If you frequently ignore others, remember that you're dealing with human beings. You may well hurt the feelings of people you ignore or respond to dilatorily. Might you want to leave just a bit of room in your crowded day for a little courtesy? For example, instead of ignoring someone's email until you may find time to provide a full answer, promptly send a one-liner such as, I'll get to you back, I'll get to you, excuse me, I'll get back to you next week on this. And if you're ignoring a person because you don't like having to say no, realize that silence may actually hurt the person more, as he or she is left waiting, hanging indefinitely. It needn't take much of your time. A quick, I'm sorry we can't work with you on your idea, plus a brief reason is much better than leaving the person waiting for Godot. Anyway, I'm Marty Nemko. Thank you for watching. My new book just out is called Careers for Dummies. You might find it useful. It's available on Amazon. Anyway, I'm Marty Nemko. Thanks. Bye.